Isn't recording. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I want to repeat what I just said, but now we come to this, to the last scene in Act 2. So this is scene 3, and before we continue, I want you guys to take notes on this. So in drama, which is a genre for literature, in drama, a lot of authors use,
Rosa?
especially Shakespeare. Yes, ma'am. Yes, go.
Charlie said that he's not in or something like that. He needs to be let in again.
Uh, Charlie. He's the
Yeah,
is he in a waiting room? Oh, I know what happened. Okay,
I guess so.
tell him to restart his computer, because what happens is it shows them that they're in a waiting room, but as you can see here, it doesn't show me anything. Like that he's
Okay.
waiting so I can admit him. So what happened is the application crashed. So what he has to do is he has to close everything, restart the computer, and attempt to come. Oh, there he is. Never mind. Let me see. Okay. See if he joins. Okay. Hi, Charlie. Are you in? Oh, did it kick him out? Sophia, I can't see him. Yes. Okay. He's in. Finally. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Sophia. Okay, cool. So let me go to this. All right. So let me teach you guys about this soliloquy. Okay, so in Shakespeare, and Shakespeare did this a lot with other plays, but especially in Othello. A soliloquy is soliloquy. There you go. A soliloquy is when a person or when a character talks to himself out loud. So all of us talk to ourselves, but we probably talk to ourselves without expressing it vocally. We kind of just think our own thoughts, our own opinions, we keep them up to ourselves. Well, Shakespeare does something where he takes his characters and makes them expose themselves, expose their inner thoughts to the audience, but not to other characters. So that's what a soliloquy is. And Iago is the only character, maybe Othello does one too, but Iago is one of the only characters in this play who practice this, or Shakespeare makes him speak like that. So all the characters leave, and then Iago stays talking to the audience. Of course, he's not talking to the audience, he's talking to himself, he's expressing his thoughts. So this technique is used to convey the progressive action of the play, which is why I keep telling you that the play was written in Iago's point of view. So from his point of view, because that's how we know where the play is going. That's how we know the events are um, transitioning from one event to the other, because Iago talks. So that's what a soliloquy is, but it's not to be confused with a monologue. I don't know if you guys ever watched or if you've ever been to a Shakespeare play, but monologues are when characters go into these rants almost of just them talking, but they're usually accompanied by other characters. So I know Midsummer Night's Dream had tons of monologues from all kinds of characters, but they're always there around the other characters. So a soliloquy is a solo almost. This is where you think to yourself about your thoughts, but you speak them so that the audience can hear you and there are no characters around you. A monologue is still by yourself, but there are other people who are around you. Um, so that's the difference between the two. So I'm gonna point to you guys to one of the soliloquies, and there's been more, and I hadn't pointed them to you guys, which is fine because I wanted you guys to concentrate on the ideas, like on the bigger ideas, the bigger themes, which reminds me, we're going to be looking into a little bit of a theme. So remember, we've been looking at two themes so far. One is appearance versus reality. Appearance is what you present to the world, what a person presents to the world, sort of like an outside image. that's not always real. It's more like Instagram, more like, I don't know, Snapchat, where everybody looks so happy and so nice and they're traveling. That's their appearance, right? But reality is different. Maybe they're sad and anxious at some points. That's their reality. So something that what truly is what is going through real life. And so Iago is a perfect example of appearance, that theme, that big idea of appearance versus reality. We have been also looking into, sorry, another thing, the very first theme, I'm sorry, honor and reputation, which is a big idea in Othello, not just because it's a central theme, but it's has to do with the culture that they live in. Men's reputation, men's honor, and of course honor has to do with integrity. Reputation is more of what other people view of you. But they're all worried, especially men. Men are always worried about the reputation. And as we go on through this last scene, you'll see that it's talked about. The theme kind of continues again. So let's go to the play. And somebody's chatting here. Nice. Okay. I'm sorry, let me put that down. There it is. Okay. So this is scene 3. Obviously they're all gonna go to party, right? Yes. Okay. So Othello and Desdemona are going to go to the room. They've never been together before as man and woman, or at least that's what Iago claims. So they're leaving, right? And now we have Cassio and Iago. Cassio is the lieutenant that was chosen over Iago. So we already know that Iago hates Cassio, but as you know him, Iago is the biggest hypocrite in the world. He is amazing at pretending. So manipulative. And Cassio doesn't know that, right? Cassio doesn't know the evil nature in Iago. Iago does such a great job at hiding who he truly is. So he's a mastermind. And so Cassio, you know, as a really good man, he's dutiful. He's a soldier, right? He says, okay, we're gonna go watch. We're gonna go take care and guard. And Iago's like, nah, Lieutenant, it's okay. We have until 10, you know, it's barely 10. We can still party a little bit more. Plus, Othello and Desdemona, you know, they're doing their thing. Nothing's gonna really care. And then they go on about talking about how pretty and beautiful and amazing Desdemona is. And Iago says, well, happiness to their sheets. And he says, come, Lieutenant, I'll have you a stoup of wine and wear without a brace of Cyprus gallants that would fain have a measure to health of black Othello. So he's like, okay, let's go celebrate. I'm going to give you some wine so you can get happy. And Cassio is still saying, no, I'm good. I'm actually not that good at drinking. Like, you know, he gets drunk really easily. So he's like, I really don't want to get that. And he says, oh, there are friends, but 1 cup I'll drink for you. So he says, oh, don't worry. It's just going to be 1. Nothing's going to happen to you. And he says, nope, I can still go really bad and do a lot of things with 1 cup. So and you know, Iago kind of persuades him to do that because there's other friends. And Cassio leaves to kind of go with their friends. And here's the first soliloquy of this scene. He is obviously just talking by himself in front of the audience. So the first one appears in lines 1180 to 1195. So I'll add that. This is act 2, scene 3. So 2.3.80 to 95. So these are the lines that I'll be focusing on for the next few minutes. Go ahead and, oops, what did I do? Grab your notes as you are paying attention. And by the way, you guys, when I'm taking notes, don't feel like those are all the notes you need to take. Like if you see something else that I'm not seeing, go ahead and write that. I would also have my graphic organizer just in case you feel like it's a quote you could use in your argument, because that can help you out as well. And for those of you who kind of question, why do we always have to get quotes for papers? Or when we're reading, shouldn't we just enjoy the reading? Well, I'm training you guys to read like writers. So for my sophomores who are going to go into next year, you're going to be reading a lot more books, a lot more literature than you did with me in 10th grade, especially for AP language. And reading like a writer is going to help strengthen your writing and become a lot more critical in your reading. So when you're actively taking quotes from, we call it quotes, but it's actually called textual evidence. When you're taking textual evidence as you read, you're preparing your brain or your mind to argue later. So it's a great benefit to be able to do that. And I really hope, if you learn anything in my class, is that when you read, you have to keep record of your quotes, even if it's in a little piece of napkin, but keep record of your quotes, of your lines, because that saves a lot of headaches in the long run. So it's kind of why we do it all the time. Okay, all right, let's go on. So he says, so remember, he's talking to himself in front of the audience, no one's there. He's not talking to the audience, he's talking by himself to himself. He says, if I can fasten but 1 cup upon him, so if I can make him drink 1 cup with that which he had drunk tonight already, and I know he's already drank something a bit by now, he'll be as full of quarrel and offense as my young mistress's dog. So he's gonna be as fighting or as full of anger as my mistress, so like not his wife, but the woman on the side, that's a mistress, and the dog. So he compares him to a dog. He didn't have a mistress, he's just saying that, okay? Now my sick fool Rodrigo, whom love had turned almost the wrong side out, to Desdemona had tonight caroused potations.
1 second, we're not getting out. Hold on.
What? He probably just wants to get out of it.
Okay, well, I can't feel it.
Okay. All right, so I'll continue. 3 lads of Cyprus, noble soiling spirits that hold their honors in a wary distance. The very elements of this warlike isle have I tonight flustered with flowing cups, and they watch too. Now amongst this flux of drunkards, am I to put our Cassio in some action that may offend the isle? But here they come. If consequence do but approve my dream, my bow sails freely, both with wind and stream. So his plan is to make Cassio get into a fight. That's what his plan is, right? And notice he uses a metaphor. He says, if everything goes planned, my boat sails freely, so my plan is free. My plan is going smoothly, both with wind and stream. Remember, he's been plotting all these things. So that's what lines. This is when Iago plots to make Cassio drunk and get into a fight. Remember, who is Cassio for Othello?
The cap or the guard or something.
Yeah,
His officer.
his lieutenant. So he's the man of his trust,
He's
right?
trying to get him fired, is what he's doing.
Yep, that's correct. So Cassio is Othello's almost like a right hand. His right hand man. Obviously he preferred him over Iago. Now, Iago is always saying, well, why did he choose him over me? I know a lot about war, a lot more about war than Cassio knows. In fact, Cassio is like a woman, right? He kind of says that. But there's something interesting about what Othello did in here. So perhaps what Iago was saying was true. He knew a lot more about war. Is there any hint in Othello that might have made him choose Cassio over Iago? Do you guys think he has any idea of what Iago's capable of? And that's why he might have chosen Cassio over Othello.
Yeah,
Just
I
guess.
guess.
What do you think? Let me go to Fate. So Fate. Othello obviously chose Cassio over Iago, and he's known both men for a while. Do you think Othello has some sort of suspicion about Iago not being the most honest, or do you think he just chose Cassio because, I don't know, he felt like he's a better warman, better soldier? What do you think?
I feel like Iago portrays himself as a really good person,
Mm-hmm.
so it could be either way, but I feel like Othello is smart enough to see that there's like something wrong.
Maybe something wrong? Okay. All right, we'll see. Thank you for your opinion. All right. So remember, by knowing that Cassio is the man of trust, we know that if Iago's, as he says, if my dream comes true, my bow is gonna go on freely with wind and stream. So if everything goes right according to plan, Cassio is going to be fired. That's his end goal. So let's see what happens. Comes in and Cassio says, "For God, they have given me a rouse already." So Cassio was already getting into trouble. And they start singing this little song, "Some wine ho, and let me cannikin cling cling, let me cannikin cling, a soldier's man, a lies man."
Sing it!
I don't know how to sing it, okay?
Belt it out, Miss Rosas.
Why then let a soldier drink some wine, boys? I know how to sing it. You probably can sing it better than I do. It's okay. Cassio, oh, what an excellent song, talks about England, and I was actually laughing at this thing. Oh, sweet England. No, not this part. Oh, here. Is your Englishman so expert at his drinking? Why he drinks you with facility? Your Dane dead drunk. He sweats not to be overthrown by Arlemagne. He gives your Hollander a vomit ere the next bottle can be filled.
Oh my God, such a beautiful song.
Who was that?
Please don't make that voice. I'm sure Cassio didn't speak like that.
Who
Okay,
was
anyway,
that?
I was laughing at this part because they're talking about how English and Dutch men drink a lot, and that's true. Like even back in the day, it's still true today. Like they're experts at drinking. They can drink. Their tolerance for alcohol is so high. I don't even know how they do it, but it's crazy, and that's where a lot of the most famous drinks have been made. Vodka is made over there. Scotch.
Vodka's made in Russia.
Well, like in the same areas.
That's a stereotype, Mariah.
Europe is huge.
not. It
You
is.
can't just say
It's
European alcohol and have it be like, oh yes, in the same area. Russia has 14 different time zones.
Okay, but I mean Europe. There, that's what I meant to mean.
European alcohol.
Yes, there you go. That's more what I was referring to. Thank you so much. European alcohol is a lot more. It's got a lot more history than American alcohol. So we'll just leave it at that. Anyway, I was laughing at that because it seems like it's in the culture that's what they had. Let's see, someone's chatting. European. Okay, we'll leave it at that. I should have not focused on that. It's not even important. Okay. Anyway.
That is absolutely important. What do you mean?
It's not. See, that's what I get for doing this. Let's see. They're gonna fight. I'm trying to look for the place. It's all gone before. Okay, so yeah, so Cassio is ready to fight. I, but by your leave, not before me. Let's Lieutenant be saved before the ancient. Let's have no more of this. Let's to our affairs forgive us our sins, gentlemen. Let's look up to our business. Do not think, gentlemen, I am drunk. This is like one of you guys when you, I don't know, hopefully you've never been drunk, but when you're gonna get drunk and you think, I'm not drunk, I'm okay, I'm all right, this is my right hand, this is my left hand, I'm not drunk now, I can stand well enough and I speak well enough. Obviously the guy is really drunk. Like, if you ever find a person who says I'm not drunk, they just are, just by saying that. So anyway, I just had a funny imagination of one of you guys going like that, but probably not fun to publish this video. Okay, so the guy's obviously drunk and Iago's gonna take advantage of that. And so what he does is he makes him get into a fight, and now he's here. What noise? Let me go on because these are not important. Okay, so right here. I missed it. So they're fighting. It's Cassio versus Montano, yeah. And they're kind of ready to kill each other. So that's the fight that Iago stirred up. Can come you're drunk. They fight. And then Iago, aside to Rodrigo, so he's talking to Rodrigo, and he says, away, I say, go out and cry at mutiny. Nay, good lieutenant, Allah's gentlemen, help hold Lieutenant Sir Montano, sir. So they're kind of like going back and forth and kind of separating them. But he goes and rings the bell. And what the bell meant is there's something going on, right? And of course, this is past the night, past probably midnight. Iago's made it so that everybody's already away and now they're just getting into a fight. But when they ring the bell, obviously Othello comes in and he says, what's going on in here? And then if you can see,
Mummy dear,
what?
they rung the bell to summon their mummy.
Yeah, something like that. So Othello comes in, right? And then here is here's Iago kind of like making himself look as the best possible. He's hold, Lieutenant, Sir Montano, gentlemen, have you forgot all sense of place and duty? Hold, the general speaks to you. Hold, for shame. Like they're still fighting. So he's like pretending to be the person who's separating them when of course he was the instigator in the first place. And so we see Othello speak again. And remember, when Othello speaks throughout these two acts, it's very little. So whenever he speaks, we can see a lot of who he really is, of his personality. So why, how, now, ho, from whence ariseth this? Are we turned Turks into ourselves to that which heaven hath forbidden the Ottomites? So he's telling them, are you guys serious? Like, what have you guys turned into Turkish? So he compares them to the enemy because the people of Cyprus thought of the Ottomites as people who were savages. So as you can see here, for Christian shame, put this barbarous brawl. He that stares next to car for his own rage, hold his soul light. He dies upon his motion. He's like, anybody who stirs up something, they know they're going to get a consequence. Silence that dreadful bell, it frightens the isle from her propriety. What is the matter, masters? Honest Iago, what looks dead with grieving? Speak, who began this? Oh, thy love, I charge thee. They're kind of exaggerating, but Othello comes in to kind of separate the brawl, and he mentions these ideas that are in him. So that's kind of why his speech is important. 1325. What is it? 1315 to 1320. So I'm just going to put the line number. 1315 to 25. You already know that this is from Act 2, Scene 3, and these are the line numbers. So Othello comes in and he mentions two things.
What would you like to?
Two ideas. The first idea is that Turkish men war savage. And of course, he's just trying to separate them. But then he talks about something Christian shame, almost like the consciousness. He says, for Christian shame, stop this brawling or barbarous brawl. He that stares next to car for his own rage, hold his soul lie, he dies upon his motion. So there's this idea that Othello thinks. He thinks that if you're so angry, like that you go and fight, you don't appreciate your life. And he says he dies upon his motion. This line, this little line by itself, which I'm going to copy and put into our thing, kind of comes back to bite Othello. As you guys know, man turns so jealous and so outrageously angry that he can't control himself. Okay, I'll just look at it. So Othello seems to be this calm, cool, put together person. So Othello portrays himself as a balanced man who could never be overcome by anger or wrath. So in his words, he tells the men, whomever is overcome by wrath or by their own anger, he says, hold his soul lively, almost like doesn't appreciate his own life. He dies upon his motion, meaning it's up to you. Like this is the problem that you had. Your rage overcame you. It's not that somebody killed you. It's you yourself on this. Okay, so that's why it's important to know that, because this is gonna come back to Othello, and he's gonna have to practice what he said in here, but obviously he doesn't, because wrath and anger do overcome him, more like jealousy, and he ends up doing what he did. So let me go on.
You're spoiling it.
I'm not. I'm just pointing out important stuff. I have not. Okay. All right. Let me go on. Okay, so now we know, but I don't want to keep talking. So what happens next? I don't know, anybody? What happens next? What happens to Cassio? What happens to Cassio?
Othello comes in
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, bruh, how could you let this happen? You're in charge. You're supposed to keep these guys in check. You're my officer. You're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be more mature. How could you get drunk and then let them get in a fight and get in the fight yourself? You are
Yes.
no longer an officer.
Yes. So Othello relieves, or basically fires, discharges. So the consequence is Cassio is no longer Othello's
Right-hand man.
He claims, and that's what Mariah was talking about. Okay, so he talks again in here. He says, now by heaven, my blood begins my safer guides to rule, and passion, having my best judgment collide, essays to lead the way. If I once stir or do but lift this arm, the best of you shall sink in my rebuke. Give me to know how this foul route began, who set it on, and that he's approved of his offense, though he had twinned with me both at birth, shall lose me. So this is like, let me know, who started this whole thing. And there he is. Nice little honest Iago. And so he's like, oh, well, I would rather not say, I would rather cut my tongue than say it. But it was Michael Cassio. So he's obviously being falsely modest. And he's saying, I'm not trying to speak against him, but that's how it was. He started it. And Othello, I know, Iago, thy honesty and love doth mince this matter, making a lie to Cassio. Cassio, I love thee, but never more be officer of mine. Look, if my gentle love be not raised up, I'll make thee an example. So Othello decides to relieve Cassio from his position. And notice that Othello is a little bit convinced by Iago's, the whole thing, the whole setup makes Iago look really good. Sort of like the man who kept his cool. He wasn't stirred up by the brawl. He was the one who was separating them. So Othello says, even kind of points out, your honesty and love doth mince this matter. So I know that if it wasn't because of you, this would have gone to a higher, more consequences. Maybe one of them would have gotten killed and whatnot. So Othello truly believes that Iago is an honest person. Okay, then comes Desdemona. Okay, here is Mr. Iago talking. So I'm going to focus on that, 1420. So this is lines 1420. I'm just putting the line numbers, you guys. Maybe like 30. Somebody was chatting. Okay, thank you, Jessica. I'm recording, so I'll post this on YouTube so people can watch today. Okay. All right, let me go on. So as I am an honest man, I thought you had received some bodily wound. There's more sense in that than in reputation. Reputation is an idle and most false imposition of God without merit and lost without deserving. You have lost no reputation at all unless you repute yourself such a loser. What man? There are ways to recover the general again. You are but now cast in his mood, a punishment more in policy than in malice, even so as one would beat his offenseless dog to a fright an imperious lion. Sue to him again and he's yours. So why is he telling Cassio this? Well, Cassio is extremely worried. His reputation. Oh, I have lost my reputation. I've lost the immortal part of myself, and what remains is bestial. My reputation, Iago, my reputation. So he's extremely worried. But notice Cassio's words really talk about that theme of how men in this culture, I mean, his words are crazy. Look at what he says. He says, I have lost the immortal part of myself, and what remains is bestial, meaning what remains is my animalistic side, or that's what made me a human. That's what made me celestial almost, because he says it's immortal, like something that will never die. And so he's extremely, extremely worried. And Iago says, look, man, it's okay. You haven't lost that much. Reputation is worthless. In fact, it's so false. It's such a false imposition. Doesn't gain you anything. And if you lose it, nothing happens. It's okay. Get up. You'll get back to it. You'll get back your position as a lieutenant. You just have to win Othello back. So this exchange, and I'll go back to 415. So it's more like from 415. Okay, so Cassio, let me make it a little bigger. Cassio exemplifies the idea that, I'll put it in quotes, oops, that for a man, a reputation was their most treasured possession. So, I know it was wrong. Possession, there you go. But Iago convinces him against that idea. So here goes the plot. This man, Cassio, is extremely worried about the fact that he's no longer lieutenant, that, you know, his image in front of his boss was ruined. And here's Iago plotting already, right? Remember, he's been thinking about these things way before everything happened. And everything happened as he was going to say. And comes to a question, why do his plans come out so perfectly? And Iago thinks that he knows men and women's nature a lot. That's what he claims. He claims that he knows how women act, he knows how men act, he knows how they are in their youth, how they are when they're old. So, and it seems like it's true. It seems like Iago does know human nature to that degree, where he plots a plan and everybody just falls right into it, right? So his advice is, you're going to go, if you go and talk to Desdemona, Othello is so in love with her that if you talk to her, she's going to be your way to, she's going to be your way back into Othello's good view or good position. And so they're plotting, right? So he said, yeah, I'll ask him for my place again. He shall tell me I'm the drunkard. Had I as many mouths as Hydra, such an answer would stop them all. To be now a sensible man, by and by a fool, and presently a beast. Oh, strange, every inordinate cup is unblessed, and the ingredient is a devil. So he's like, man, I should not have gone drunk. I'm such an idiot, etc. And Iago, of course, like, come, good wine is a good familiar creature. It'll be well used. Explain no more against it. And good lieutenant, I think you think I love you. So obviously they're still kind of drunk. So, they're kind of going back and forth into like these ideas about honor and how it's going to be okay. Iago keeps telling him that it's going to be fine. And then we get that idea that Desdemona is going to be that place. I must watch. Okay, so now here's the second soliloquy. This is when he's talking to himself. So yeah, he's by himself here. So 1490 again. Let me take this off. This is the second soliloquy. And he talks to himself again, revealing, he says, and what's he then that says I play the villain? He's like, so who is it that says I'm the villain in this story, right? He says, when this advice is free, I give an honest and probable to thinking, and indeed the course to win the more again. So he's saying, I'm not that bad of a person. Who says I'm that bad? I give my advice. He's going to be able to get his job back. He says, but for 'tis most easy the inclining Desdemona to subdue in any honest suit. She's framed as fruitful as the free elements. And then for her to win the more, were to renounce his baptisms, all seals and symbols of redeemed sin. His soul is so enfettered to her love that she may make, unmake, do what she list, ever as her appetite shall play the god with his weak function. So he's talking about how Desdemona has such a power over Othello that whatever she does, she's got him. She has his soul. Nothing's going to stop. If whatever she sets her mind out to, she's going to convince him to do. So that's how he reads their relationship works, right? And so he says that she may make, unmake, never mind, to cancel Cassio to do this. Oh, here. How am I then villain to cancel or to advise Cassio to this parallel course? Directly to his good? Divinity of hell. When devils will the blackest sins put on, they do suggest at first with heavenly shows, as I do now. For whiles this honest fool plies Desdemona to repair his fortunes, as she for him pleased strongly to the more, I'll pour this pestilence into his ear, that she repeals him for her body's lust. And by now much she strives to do him good, she shall undo her credit with the more. So will I turn her virtue into pitch, and out of her own goodness make the net that shall enmesh them all. So here's what he means in all these weird lines that I just read. He says that because the Moor loves Desdemona so much, he'll do whatever she wants, right? So what he's gonna do, he's gonna go and tell the Moor that she's doing that because she doesn't want him anymore. So she's advocating for Cassio because she actually likes Cassio, and that's what and that's the reason why. So it's kind of working perfectly so far. It's gonna work. That's his plan. That's what he wants to do. So he's using all these people almost like puppets. Like he's the one who's manipulating all the situations so that they can fall into his plan. And even come Rodrigo, he's like, I'm done. I finished all my money. Nothing's gonna happen. And then Iago's talking to him and he says, oh, how poor, they have no patience. What would it ever heal by degrees? Thou know we work by wit and not by witchcraft, and wit depends on dilatory time. Doesn't know go well. So he's like, I'm done, I'm gonna leave. And Iago says like, no, like wait, like our plans can only be successful if we are patient. Don't you know that? And that's when this whole thing ends. Now he does his last soliloquy here in the last lines, and I'm not taking notes for you, so you should be taking notes for yourself. In 1540, he does his last, the third soliloquy. So as I'm reading, you should be taking notes as I'm interpreting the lines. He says, 2 things are to be done. My wife must move for Cassio to her mistress. I'll stir her on, myself the while to draw them more apart, and bring him jump when he may Cassio find, soliciting his wife. Aye, that's the way. Dole not devised by coldness and delay. So he is going to make his wife talk to his mistress, so the plan goes like this. He's going to tell his wife about Cassio and all that happened, and his wife is going to talk to Desdemona. Cassio is going to talk to Desdemona, and he's going to say like, come on, like give me another chance, tell your husband he needs to give me another chance. It was a mistake and whatnot. While they're at that, what Iago's going to do is he's going to get Othello apart, and he's going to kind of start putting all these ideas, wrongful ideas, about Desdemona being unfaithful. And because Desdemona is such a gentle woman, she won't really kind of see those things happening. He says that's how we're going to trap everybody. So as you can see, Iago is not just evil, he enjoys being evil. And he's such a well-rounded character in the play, where he speaks truth in some ways. I think no one can deny that. But he uses his knowledge, or his wisdom as he calls it, for his own advantage. So he's definitely not a character who anyone can take advantage of. He takes pleasure at manipulating others. So I have like 1 minute. So today there is no homework because I want you guys to prepare an outline for the character analysis that you'll be doing on Tuesday. What I want you guys to focus when you're doing your outline is in a couple things. So outline for character analysis. Remember, you have to have your quotes, but basically what you need to focus is on the character's actions. So their actions, their words, thoughts, and their development. So how did we begin? So how did we meet them at the beginning? And we're close to the middle of the play. How had they developed? Who are they in terms of their characteristics, in terms of the culture around them, their words, their thoughts, their actions? All those things are going to come into play when you want to analyze. So as you are planning your time right and how you're going to do it, make sure that you have quotes that demonstrate these things. It's going to be the regular essay where you make claims and you support them with textual evidence. It's going to be the same thing. So let's say you're thinking about doing Iago and describing him as a character. Well, you need to be able to prove that through his actions, through his words, his thoughts, because he has a lot of soliloquy, so we know his thoughts, and then how he develops as a character throughout the play. So that's what I want you guys to do, to think of those things as you're planning. And let me stop my share and stop my recording. Stop recording right there.